I have one thing I think, just to circle back to our earlier discussion of anti-Semitism on campus. We also need to talk about some of the anti-Semitism in popular culture right now, with people like Theo Von and Candace Owen and others going on these podcasts and just ranting and conspiracy theorizing, and the response being, I think, rather muted to what they're doing, because their messaging is reaching a very young and kind of politically disengaged, but very open to seemingly alternative ideas and alternative histories. And that really concerns me, because that's a broad swath of the youth of this country, not all of whom will end up going to college, but many of whom are coming of age, listening to the kind of thing for which there is very little pushback in the media diet that they consume. So that's actually an area where, Theo Von in particular is interesting, because he's had rabbis on to discuss anti-Semitism, but then
he had Candace Owens on his show.
He had Candace Owens on the show.
He's not going around saying these things.
And then Candace Owens has obviously been a problem for a much longer stretch of time. But the mainstreaming of anti-Semitic conspiracy theory is something that I think, if you're conservative, you should be deeply, deeply concerned about. And a lot of it's coming from the right.
Mainstreaming is the right term. It's popularizing, or it is getting this message out, because it's not mainstream, right?
It's becoming mainstream.
No,
that's my concern.
There is no mainstream. Like, that's part of the story here, is that there are these tributaries or river or, different streams of information, right? And there is no main. So Tucker, Candace, whoever it is that wanted Andrew Tate to be released back, to be freed in the United States. A lot of those people are speaking into a void, because there's no one else in that stream. Like, even the people who are in that stream, who are very much deeply ideologically opposed to that sort of expression, right? Like Ben Shapiro, himself an Orthodox Jew and passionate Zionist and spokesman against anti-Semitism, left Breitbart for this very reason and started his own business for that reason. He's already now in a different tributary. They're in their own market, and I don't know how you enter that market.
I do agree with Christine on this, which is that we just went through this election cycle where one of the main lessons was the power of these podcasters, in particular Joe Rogan. And so it was disturbing to have Rogan host an anti-Semite the other week, and apparently now he's planning to host another anti-Semite, the World War II revisionist, who became famous for his appearance on Tucker. So to the degree that these are influential platforms for this type of ideology, it is disturbing. I'm still trying to get like a level check on it, though. What does it say about the real world of politics and policy? There's always, it seems to me, a certain amount of anti-Semitism, anti-Semitic belief or prejudice going on in most people's heads who aren't Jews. Is this simply a reflection of that, or is it something much more sinister?
So that I think we have to think of this, and the reason I think it's important to bring it up separate from politics is that it's a cultural thing that's bubbling along. And you're right, Matt, it's always bubbled along. But what it's doing now is introducing an entirely new generation to these ideas uncritically, in fact, enthusiastically, under this rubric of, well, we're just asking questions. We're just looking at things that they haven't told you. And I just know this from talking to lots of young people who are otherwise not primed to be anti-Semitic in any way, they'll just say things. I'm like, where did you hear that? Where is that true? Why do you believe that? And it's fascinating to trace the cultural stream there. And that's where, I don't know how to fight back, but I just,
this is why, Joe Rogan is bad, and he's been bad, because he has long hosted anyone with some degree of cultural popularity, no matter how fringy their theory, no matter how conspiratorial, and it's all with the attitude of, well, nothing is off limits, and I want to hear all sides. And all of these conspiracy theories and all these fringe theories lead toward hating the Jews eventually. Not even that eventually. And each one takes on a life of its own, post-Rogan,